Alright, I have a huge Marvel Crisis Protocol project that I am trying to do. Not motivated to do it, so to motivate myself, I'm making a video tutorial on how I paint rock. And I learned this from Luke's APS, I believe, or Luke's Apps. Let me look up that channel one more time. That was Luke's APS or Apps Custom Terrain and Tutorials on Geek Gaming Scenics. So I'm just going to use the method that he used. I'll also put a link to that video in my description. I am just doing this to motivate myself to get this project done. Otherwise, probably won't happen. So the first step is I got some dishes, and I got the 4 colors that my rocks are going to be, and the 2 main colors of the rock, and then the 2 washes. One of the washes is going to be Abaddon Black, the other wash is going to be Eshin Gray. I got Administerium Gray, and Screaming Skull for the base of the rocks. I didn't measure any paint, but I created my first cup. I put in just a glob of the Screaming Skull, and then I put just enough water to cover it, and I stirred that up to make my first wash. This is about how much I put in, and then I just put enough water to cover that and stir it up. Then for the first wash, which is Eshin Gray, I put double the water, and I'll do that as well for the Abaddon Black. Alright, I got all my washes prepared, so I'm going to start painting the rock now. And just so I can get a better angle on this, let me move the camera. So I'm going to take my first color, and I'm actually going to just randomly wipe it on different spots of the rock. It's okay if it gets on the model, because it looks like trash when you first do it, but if I don't do this all at the same time, it's going to look weird. Don't do it to where you're making a pattern and making everything unified, because you're going to be mixing colors and you're going to be wanting to create a random pattern, because if you start to make it all nice, it doesn't look like natural rock because everything's all together. I might need to thicken up my first wash a little bit. I don't think I added enough Screaming Skull. Alright, so I added a little bit of this wash to the various models that I'm doing these all at the same time, so they all kind of look unified in color, because I won't be able to recreate this exact mixture again. Why there's so many bubbles on there, not sure why. Anyway, I'm going to be adding finer details later, so it's kind of like I said, just slathering stuff all over the model at random, and it'll look good when it's done. And that's the thing about this set, is it's got this part here, and that little rock that can't be glued, so getting these to be unified is going to be a little bit of a challenge. In between wash applications, you want to wash and clean your brush. It's still going to be wet, but that'll help blend the colors. But if you don't wash the brush out, you're just going to end up mixing the colors and lose your effect. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the Screaming Skull, but with the Administerium Gray. And again, I'm just going to be randomly placing it on the model. The primer that I used is pretty close to the Administerium Gray, so it's not going to look like I'm doing much here. Oops, I just put in the brush in the wrong wash. Anyway, let's fix that. But before you apply your third wash, you're going to want to make sure that all of this is dry before you start. Because if you don't, it'll blend the colors that you've just dabbled on. I want to do something a little special with the steps and everything, so I'm trying not to do too much of the rock colors on there. But yeah, this looks really bad right now. Trust me, it looks better in the end. You don't want to completely cover everything. You want to leave some of the stuff the color of your primer, because That just makes another spot for the eye to go to where there's different color than when you're just mixing all these. So it's just good practice to do. Alright, I cheated a little bit with the hairdryer to get this dry, but now it's time for the first of the washes. The first of the top coat washes. Now this one you're going to want to coat the entire area that you're painting with, because it's going to be dark, it's going to be thin, but it'll blend all those colors together before your final wash. It'll give you a nice natural coloration to the rocks. Now I've coated all of mine in one layer of my top coat wash. And the next, I'm just going to do black. And after your black wash, you can apply that as many times as you want to darken it up or change it. But as you can see, it's already making drastic differences in the shading and everything. And you don't want it to pool up or bubble up if you can help it. But once you get all this done and you have your base layer of rock colors, this will look a lot better once you add the finer details. And if you like this method, this is the way I like to do it, but there are other methods of painting rock online which involve dry brushing, different paint coats and primers and everything. There's all kinds of videos out there on how to paint rock, but this is how I like to do it. If you go back and look at my video for how I did the Weapon X bunker program, or whatever, the Rivals panel with Sabretooth and Wolverine from Marvel Crisis Protocol, I did this method on the rock using browns and grays, and I really liked how it turned out. So if you liked how I did that one, this is how I did it. And I'll show a final product here when I'm all finished. Now you'll notice that when you're putting the black on, it seems to, as it's stated, cover up a lot of the stuff you did, but it will not in the end. And you can always thin it more if you think it's a little too thick, or add some more paint if you think it's a little too thin. Alright, I'm adding my second coat of the black wash now. And as you can see, I'm also painting my arm. But here is the rock, mostly dry. As you can see, it's got good color mixture and a few areas that I need to probably touch up a little bit, but the colors will blend and make a nice base for you. This is going to look vastly different than this. It still looks kind of gross right now, but with some touch-ups. I just wanted to get a base mixture of colors for rock, and I believe now that I am actually ready to paint this thing. I will try and get a finalized version of what I did with the Asgard, but here was that bunker I was talking about, that I did the same method for rock on this, painted it up, add all my final details, and touched it up and added effects. But as you can see, the rock colors look more natural, and this did look like that Asgardian shrine does right now, where it was messy and did not look good. But once you're all done and you get it to where you like it, I think it looks great, and it's my favorite method for doing rock. Now here it is fully dry before I make any more changes to the paint. Now you can see a lot better how it comes together. And now here is the final result. I painted it all up. I spent, let's see, whatever, it's about 4 p.m. now. I started painting last night, took a break, but I finished everything up so you can see what the final product with all of the work on the rock is. This is Asgardian Shrine. So I did a little dry brush. Don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there's some glitter and stuff because of the Rainbow Road, the Bifrost that the Asgardians use. But I even painted the little chunks. And again, as you can see, the highlight of this video is the rocks and how everything all comes together when you put your final details in.